Okay, there we go. So we're recording. Thank you everyone again for joining us today. We are going to be talking about HubSpot CMS. So we're going to go over all of the benefits for some different groups, marketers, dev teams, IT teams, and all of that. Of course, you can ask questions throughout the presentation at any time. Just please use the Q&A feature here. And reach out and ask those. We'll also have a dedicated time at the end of the presentation for Q&A as well, and we'll answer some common questions as well at that time. So I think we're ready to go. I've given everyone enough time to join, and I will kick off. So I'll do introductions first. My name is Erica. I am the growth strategist at Flawless Inbound, and I'm going to be leading the presentation today. So my job is to work with all of our clients, whether those are projects or programs, and ensure that everyone has the strategies and resources in place to reach their growth goals. And I have with me Antoine, who can introduce himself.
Yeah, I'm the in-house web developer designer at Flawless Inbound. I also deal with pretty much all of our clients, and anything that's website related usually comes through me.
That's good. Okay. So starting off with a quick agenda for today, we're going to be doing a quick introduction about Flawless Inbound and about the topic, and then Antoine's going to take over and talk about what HubSpot CMS is, benefits for marketing teams, developers, and IT teams specifically. Then we'll talk a little bit about the integration of HubSpot CMS with your marketing and CRM or other hubs as well, and then we'll leave time for a Q&A. So today's presentation is going to be a little bit more involved, a little bit more technical than some previous webinars, because we wanted to give everyone the chance to get the details about HubSpot CMS and take kind of a deep dive into what are all the features that are available for you. So we already did our introductions, but here are our photos in case you want to see them as well as our real faces. Those are up there. Okay, so a quick introduction to Flawless Inbound and what we do. So at Flawless Inbound, our main focus is digital transformation. We view digital transformation as a strategic competitive advantage, especially right now. We know that the last year wasn't easy on business, and things are continuing to change and evolve as we go forward. We're both in our virtual backgrounds because we are both still working from home, which was a change for us. But anything that changes business in such a way as the past year has can change a lot of the things about your success and your results. So we want to make sure that you have a partner in this journey in order to reach the digital transformation destination. And so we've done over 120 projects. That's all the way from websites to HubSpot implementations to programs and retainer marketing projects, sales enablements. We also work with NetSuite as a partner, side note. So we've completed over 120 of those projects for both B2B and B2C clients, and we consider ourselves a partner in the digital transformation journey, not a traditional agency. It's a quick note on some of our clients. Over the past 7 years, we've been able to work with some of these really great clients, and most of these, I think, looking at them, we have done websites for as well. So this is a quick note on our process as a whole. We have a three-pronged approach to how we work with clients, and that's the playbook, the platform, and the people. I already mentioned today we're focused on HubSpot because we're talking CMS, but we also work with NetSuite and with Vidyard as well. And when it comes to HubSpot and Vidyard, there's a great integration that can be used for all of your video marketing needs on there. our playbooks for digital transformation. We have, a set way that we do things. We've seen success, like I said, with 120 different projects. And so we've developed playbooks for all kinds of different industries, all kinds of different clients, different roles, different focuses throughout the years. And we use those to implement. Of course, we customize for every person, use those to implement going forward. And of course, the people, and we'll talk a little bit about that later, but the people on our team, including Antoine and all of our marketing and sales technology experts as well. So let's get into what you're here for, the HubSpot CMS portion of the presentation. Again, reach out with Q&A at any time. I'll be answering questions while Antoine is presenting, and if there's anything I don't know the answer to, I will interrupt him and have him answer the question then.
So before we get into like the specifics of the HubSpot CMS Hub, let's just take a little quick reminder of what traditional CMS options are usually. And an example of that would be WordPress. Usually they're open source software that you have to install on your server, or outsourced hosting provider. Their interface includes basic content creation tools, but most of the time it requires plugins or add-ons to get the functionality that you're looking for if you don't actually have to write it yourself. And the HubSpot CMS is basically not the opposite, but a completely different take on that. And it's a cloud-based content management system. It gives marketers, developers, and also IT teams the tools that they need to create awesome websites focused on user experience, but that can also be updated and changed by pretty much anyone in the team. You want to? Yeah, perfect. So I guess we're going to start with the marketers. Once set up properly, like I mentioned, it gives marketers all the tools that they need to modify stuff on the fly and easily move stuff around without always having to reach out to a developer. Some of the features that we're going to highlight here are SEO recommendations, website themes, multi-language content creation, the drag and drop editor that you see in this GIF, and just adaptive testing, which is also known as A/B testing, and then just contact attribution reporting.
That's good.
So starting with SEO recommendations, you can always see stuff that you can improve on your portal. HubSpot will show you where you can improve and give you all the fields that you need, like meta title, meta description, and it'll give you some insights on how you can improve your pages. The website theme is kind of working with a developer, but basically once your theme is set up, you can build a new page or edit the ones that you already have without having to worry about the design not matching or not using the right logos, fonts, or navigation, because everything is already predetermined for you.
Yeah, so for example, when our content editors are looking onto a page to see what they can do to improve the SEO on that page, they can use the SEO tab on the editor side, and it will tell them, say, if images are missing description, meta descriptions. It will tell you if you don't have any H1s or H2s set, so headings set across your site, which are critical to SEO. And it will even tell you things like, this page doesn't have any lists and Google likes lists and all things like that. So it's a really useful tool for content teams to, as well as technical teams, to understand what they can add to a page or a post that will allow them to have more SEO success.
Exactly. Then multi-content. This is basically having a website that is built for multiple languages, so English, French, Spanish. And this tool allows you to easily switch between your page's language without having to have like 20,000 different pages. You just have one page and you can easily switch between the variations from just a simple toggle. And then the drag and drop editor, I think, was showcased a little bit in the GIF, but it's the tool that allows you to grab a container, a section, or a module and just move it, add some padding, change the background of a section, all of that fun stuff, just simple and fast.
Yeah, exactly. We've really appreciated the drag and drop editor. HubSpot has always had the drag and drop editor when it comes to email tools, but the drag and drop editor for landing pages and website pages is somewhat in the past couple of years a more recent addition, and we have seen a lot of success for clients with that. So we've been able to, ourselves, our own content team, our own technical team, design team, and clients have been able to, make edits without having to reach out to somebody who understands how the page works. So when we used to do a lot of editing on WordPress, sometimes the people with a little bit less skill or qualifications in editing WordPress weren't able to say add a text block. We'd have to reach out to Antoine and ask him, can you add a text block? And then we can go in and add the text to it. But with the drag and drop editor, if I realize that there's an image missing on a page, I can just drag an image in just like that. And I don't have to worry about, reaching out to a developer. And we've had clients who've really appreciated that as well. And that, if they want to make a really quick change to a page, they can do it without needing to come to us. Of course, they always can come to us, but they can do it without. And the really good thing about that is that there's also a revision history. And so if something happens, if somebody does make a change that we don't want to keep or that we don't know what happened or something went wrong, we can always see the revision history and revert back to a previous version of the page. I see there's a question in the Q&A, Antoine, regarding multi-language. So we're just wondering, can you view multiple languages side by side, or do you do one at a time?
Right. So I was actually just going to address that. Basically, you don't have a side-by-side option, although you could have two tabs with the two versions open. But what it does let you do is on the editor side at the top, there's a very simple toggle that you can just switch between the two. And it doesn't take too long to load.
While you're in editing mode, you can switch between the two.
Yeah, or it can be more than two, but if you have multiple languages. One other thing to mention about the drag and drop, I know it's kind of a given and we don't really mention it, but once your theme is set up properly, all of those pages and those edits that we make on the fly are all mobile responsive, right? So they will scale for any device.
Yes. Yeah, important.
So the last 2 points for marketer are adaptive testing. Like Erica said, you can continually optimize your website with the recommendations that HubSpot will give you. But this feature specifically will allow you to test various options on the page. So you could basically have two versions of the page live at the same time with little variations here and there just to see which one performs better. And then get a little bit more insight before you choose which one you prefer.
Yeah, so basically A/B testing, you can choose up to 5 variations of a page, and HubSpot will take some time, and you can put all this in your settings, but take some time to figure out which one is performing best, and then start serving that one to clients. Of course, or to customers. You can obviously make the choice. If you would like to choose a different one for any reason, you can end with that one, but it will do that performance analysis for you. And then after a certain amount of time, just start using the one that was performing best.
Yeah. And the last point is also a little bit more towards marketers versus the CMS itself, but it will allow you to optimize your strategy by digging in which content type, source, and campaigns are driving the most leads. And then you can make adjustments to get better results.
Yes, so contract attribution reporting, you can use it with your website pages, which, pages they came in from, certain elements of the site, certain parts, content elements, etc. And you can attribute a certain amount of the close of either a customer or the incoming of a contact to certain elements of your site. So for example, if a contact has read 3 blogs, and downloaded one ebook before they become a contact. With HubSpot CMS, you'd be able to attribute that becoming of the contact to 50% to blogs and 10% to the ebook, or however you would choose to do that.
So moving on to more the developer side of things. So like we mentioned this, but the content management system will give you the power to create landing pages that and website pages that are consistent, flexible, responsive, and that your whole team can use. The benefits for developers specifically are local website development, serverless functions, website themes, again, developer docs and community, dynamic content with HubDB, and code alerts. And again, we're going to go over each of these. So starting with local website development, this is basically a way that you can start your theme and code it from your desktop without having to always go in the design tool in HubSpot. It allows you to easily, as if you're basically playing in a folder on your desktop, and then easily with Node.js just upload everything back into your HubSpot files. So this just makes it very easy for developers like me to just build a theme quickly. You can also use this, I guess, to pass through GitHub. For some companies, they prefer to keep track of changes to themes that way. So this is also a tool that you can use for that. Serverless functions. When you build modules or pages, this allows you to have interactive elements from your CRM, from basically anywhere in HubSpot, to add event registrations, guest books. You can create calculators without having to always configure an external server. SSL certificate applying on that on top, and just everything makes it so much easier to grab information from your existing CRM.
Right. So, Anton, how does this differ from, say, a different, say, WordPress or another traditional CMS?
So in WordPress, you'd always be looking for an external plugin, something that someone else has built that you just add to your website. If you have to set up like a proxy server for maybe an integration or a specific module that you're building, you may have to buy an additional SSL certificate on top of that domain or proxy server. So all of that is just in one place. It makes it super easy.
Right. And having all of those external plugins, and if once you get to having many of them for many different functions, that can obviously slow down a website and sometimes mess with the editability of it as well.
Yeah, like through like building WordPress websites at Flawless, we've seen many occasions where the website is just overcrowded with plugins, and it makes the website super slow. And then, it's just because there's so many functionalities out there and plugins to satisfy those. But when you add them all together, you just end up with a website that's full of redundant code and just very heavy because of all those plugins.
Right. Okay. Good. I think there's, themes.
Yeah. So we talked about themes a little bit in the marketing aspect, but this is more in the developer side. So you can create site-wide editing experience by creating global modules and global areas. Like an example would be your header and your footer. You can have, a subscribe banner that you want on the website that a global element is basically something that's always going to look the same. But at the same time, you give editing options to people or to your team to be able to change those global options and then apply it everywhere with one save. So you don't have to go through each of your templates and then modify your menu on each of your header modules. Everything is just in one global piece that you can edit easily. And I wish I had taken a screenshot, but the theme options that you get, like You can change the typography of your whole website. You can change your primary colors. You can change the sizes of your headers. So everything is like in one place, and that will apply globally so that your website stays consistent.
Right. So this is something we've seen be really useful for companies who are coming from or also considering a custom-built HTML website, because there's a lot of reasons for doing that. A lot of people prefer the sort of security advantages of that over other CMS or over CMS platforms like WordPress. However, of course, the global sort of idea of a global theme and being able to make easy changes to menus and typography, colors, fonts, etc., is not there when you're looking at a custom HTML built website. You would have to make changes to every single page when you're doing something like that. So we've seen this really be something that people who are coming from that kind of environment really enjoy this ability to make those global edits.
Yeah, and another thing to mention, I guess, at Flawless, we usually start from scratch for website themes or hubs or WordPress themes, but you can also buy pre-made themes on the marketplace in HubSpot, and they have some pretty good ones out there.
Yeah, so if you're working with a team, maybe you don't have a developer on your team, and of course, yeah, you can always look to someone like us to help you out with that. But if you don't have a developer on your team and you don't, you're not looking for another partner, then you can buy a pre-made theme and start from there for sure.
Yeah. So the next point would be just the community and the documentation. I mean, it's not as big a community as WordPress because WordPress has been along for so long. But the documentation that HubSpot provide is very extensive and comprehensive. They have so much stuff on there, and it's very well organized that you can find what you're looking for pretty fast. It allows you to just jump in right away. And there is a good forum for developers on HubSpot, and a lot of the staff in HubSpot watch that consistently, and they answer pretty fast.
Yeah, so it's a great place to go if you have a quick question about something that you think maybe was already answered by someone else in the community, or maybe a common question. And there's a lot of really good documentation on doing things. There's even more advanced documentation if you're looking for things like APIs and that kind of thing. There's also that advanced documentation available, and we definitely tap into that when we are doing projects for custom integrations and APIs all the time.
Yeah. So dynamic content, HubDB. HubDB is basically HubSpot allowing you to have a database that you can pull information from and store stuff there. It's great for calendars, product catalog, pricing data, anything that you think is better, like in an Excel sheet, for example, you just upload that to HubDB and you can grab information and update the database very easily.
Yeah, so this would be great for people who have maybe e-commerce sites, things like that. You can use the database to build those tables of products and pricing.
Yeah, store your product information. Obviously, you would need a integration between the e-commerce and the HubSpot CMS for the data to sync. But once it's in the database, you can access it very easily. Last point, code alerts. I think it speaks for itself, but HubSpot will identify issues in your code when you're building a theme, a page in HTML, a module, and even just tell you if what the effects will be if you save as is or don't fix the bug. It'll tell you if your website will load slowly, if it will provide a bad customer experience, if it's not responsive, if there's a missing tag, or if your Hubble code is broken. But it makes it very easy to fix your mistakes without having to do all the trial and error that I'm very used to doing in WordPress.
I think we've all seen those times when, you know, a missing bracket has caused weeks worth of pain. So this is definitely a helpful item for things like that.
Yeah, and like if it will break your website, it won't even let you publish. So that's also a great feature. And lastly, I guess for IT teams, the content management system will give you peace of mind. It has a dedicated 24-hour, 7 days a week security system team. It comes with out-of-the-box like web application firewall, SSL, custom CDN, memberships, and a lot more.
If you don't know, if you're like me and not a super technical expert and you don't know what some of those things are, just trust me, your IT team does, and they would definitely appreciate it. We've seen a lot of IT teams that we've worked with who have security concerns, very rightly security concerns. You know, the more that web hacking and phishing, etc., becomes
open source software, right? Like IT teams usually really do not like WordPress or open source CMS.
Yeah, and there's a good reason for that. And so we've seen more and more of that lately, and we've been recommending the HubSpot CMS in particular to those teams for a variety of reasons, which we'll go over right away.
I've never, in all my time working with HubSpot, I've never seen a website hosted on HubSpot go down. So that's definitely something to be taken in point. There's, like I said, 24-hour, 7 days a week security monitoring and threat detection that comes with your package. You get a content delivery network, which is the CDN, free SSL certificates for your subdomains and your domains. You get activity logging, and that basically lets you know what your users are doing on HubSpot. Site performance monitoring and reverse proxy support.
We'll just go into those.
Yeah. So monitoring and threat detection, basically the security team at HubSpot is dedicated to making sure that your website is working well, that it is secured, that your stuff is running as it should. It will check for attacks, abuse, and take actions without even you having to know about it. And like I said, I have not seen an issue with a HubSpot website yet. And I've seen many with WordPress for sure. CDN configuration basically allows you to load resources on your website faster. Your site remains active for visitors, never experience downtime, because HubSpot basically has a bunch of CDNs that are throughout the world. And if one goes down, then another picks it up, and it's built to handle high level of traffics, so your website doesn't go down. Standard SSL certificate. So any domain that's on HubSpot will automatically be applied an SSL certificate to. This will create trust for your business. It will help with your SEO and increase your Google ranking. So activity logging, like I said, basically grants your team the appropriate permissions to keep track of what changes are made by who, and monitoring the usage and make security adjustments accordingly. You can, not all of your team maybe is in one company, and so it's always a good thing to have, to be able to adjust the permissions for your users and give them only what they need instead of just everything.
Yeah, and like we said, you always have that revision history. So if you're looking at what change was made and why it was made, or something like that, you can always jump in and see who made that change and go back and ask them about it, or revert it back to a previous version if necessary.
Yeah, exactly. And even if you do revert back, like, you don't lose the one that was erased. It's still logged. So you really have tracking on everything that goes on your platform. So site performance monitoring it basically tracks your website, make sure that there's no errors or outage. It will let you know if there are broken links or stuff on your website that will hinder your traffic, speed, or just SEO, and basically checks your performance overall.
Yeah, it's a great tool for content teams, for technical teams, SEO teams to be able to jump in and understand exactly where slow speed is coming from, what's causing that, and make the fixes to ensure that the site's running at the highest possible efficiency at all times.
Exactly. And then reverse proxy basically allows you to create a domain that is not, well, it will show a domain even though on your, you could set your content on a subdomain and display it as your primary domain. It gives your marketing team the power to create, manage content while continually load all the content on one single trusted domain. So basically you could have, 5 subdomains, but all of the content displayed to the public is on your primary domain. And that will also help with SEO because subdomains have a little bit less value.
Exactly. So I'm going to just jump back in and give a quick overview of HubSpot CMS as it works with the other hubs, so marketing and sales. We know that when you're using HubSpot CMS and you already are using HubSpot as your CRM, so you're using the Sales Hub, or you're already using it for your marketing engine, so you're using the Marketing Hub, and of course there's also a Services Hub, so that's there as well. But you can get additional benefits that you can't always get, or that maybe you can't get to the best with another website builder, whether that's a custom HTML that you've built yourself or with a open source CMS like WordPress or those other options. So some of the benefits of working with CMS when you're already using the other hubs, one of the number one ones is smart content and personalization. So basically this means that you can set content on your website and landing pages to change based on data that you already know about your existing contacts. So if for example, we do this in our flawless landing pages, is we have content set per industry. So if a contact of ours is visiting a website page and they are, marked down in our CRM as being a part of a certain industry, we can display content about that industry to them directly on the website page. All they have to do is visit it without being on a incognito domain. So that's really, really useful for personalizing content across your pages. It's not something that we typically do directly on your front homepage, but it works really great for pricing pages, for offer pages, for even all the way to location-based content. As long as you have that data in your CRM, existing contacts can have it personalized based on them. You could even, if you wanted to, use personalization tokens, which in HubSpot are the essentially codes for first name, last name, email address, any sort of property you have, and display that token. So you could, welcome someone to an offer using their name, which it depends how stalkerish you might want to get, but you could do that. And it's been really useful for us. You can also, of course, set a default. So if somebody is not an existing contact, they'll see a set of default content that applies across the board. The second point is marketing and sales alignment. So we know that when everything is in one place, you have better working relationships and better working time between your marketing teams and your sales teams. That's marketing and sales alignment is one of our biggest recommendations. We always are pushing our projects and our clients to make sure that both of their teams are on the same page. They're reporting back to each other. They understand what the other team is doing and why they're doing it, and they are all on the same page about what's going to happen and how it should happen. So we know that when you have all of your team members working from one location, so when your website team, your sales team, your marketing team, even your customer service team, if you have Services Hub, working from the same hub, they can see all of that reporting, they can see all of that detail, and they can be right there and involved in it as well, as opposed to having all of those different locations. There's also sort of advanced features for tracking and lead scoring / automation that you can do when you're using CMS in combination with the other hubs. So of course, if you put the HubSpot code on your website, you can obviously do on your website, any website, you can obviously do lead tracking and do lead scoring, but there's a lot less room for something to be missing or for a potential error when you're using the HubSpot CMS. So it's always going to be tracked. It doesn't matter if something, happens, if somebody makes the wrong edit to a footer and the code goes away, or makes the wrong edit to the code, or you update your website and the code gets lost. Well, that obviously would impact your lead tracking and your ability to do things like lead scoring. And so having it on HubSpot means that won't happen. It would always be tracked. And of course, with some things like tracking IP addresses and understanding where people are coming from, where their location is, where they're visiting, with the HubSpot CMS, you can do that, and then you can use it post-contact creation. So for example, if somebody came and visited your website 3 times and didn't become a contact any of those 3 times, but then they did on the 4th visit, you would be able to backwards apply the tracking of their page visits and use that to help determine how qualified they are and automate some nurturing based on that. And lastly, user management, which Anton touched on briefly, but you can make sure that all of your users are in one place and editing one thing. So give the right permissions to people, put them on the correct teams, give the right permissions to teams, which you can do. And it's all in one place. So you don't have to worry about some of your team having access to an outside website, some of your team having access to an outside CRM, some of your team having access to outside emails, and trying to figure out who needs permission to what on all those different platforms. You can just give everybody their permissions inside of one platform, which is great. So before we get into the questions, I'm just going to quickly show you the pricing for HubSpot CMS. This is probably one of the questions that we always get. So I just thought I'd throw that on here. So there are 2 levels of CMS pricing. There's the professional and the enterprise. So there's a couple of different specific features that you can get with one or the other, which I can go into during the questions. But if you want to know about the different levels of pricing, if you want to talk about some sort of bundle that you can get with the other hubs, if you just have general questions about it in general, don't hesitate to reach out to us. All of our contact information is at the end, and we can help you. We can even help you to work with HubSpot and see what we can get you in terms of package or a bundle. So just a quick overview before I jump into common questions on Flawless. If you are interested in speaking with us or in maybe working with us on a project, if you're already a client of us and you're interested in the CMS project, then you already know this, but we offer a full team of dedicated professionals, and that includes account manager. If you work with us, you'd get an account manager, you'd have access to a strategic content writer, your digital transformation technologists, so the HubSpot experts, Antoine, your website and graphic designer and developer, a client director who's there to ensure all of our clients are making that smiley face all the time, and myself, the growth strategist, to work on solution architecture and implementation plans that's going to get you the growth that you want out of the system. So Sahir is not here, but I put him on there because I wanted to, he can be contacted at any time if you have questions about, maybe working with us or something like that, working with HubSpot in general. You can also feel free to reach out to myself or Antoine if you have a technical question, but definitely also feel free to bother Sahir and you can ask him anything. He'll be available. Quick note about Flawless. We are currently the highest rated Canadian Diamond HubSpot partner. So that's very exciting. We fairly recently gained Diamond status, and we're very proud of that. And right now we are the highest ranking Diamond partner for Canada on the HubSpot directory. We do also work all across North America and all across the rest of the world if you work in English. We're part of Vistage, which is a manufacturing community group with as well as BC Tech and Mars Discovery District. We have a book, our Sahir has a book published on B2B marketing called Journey to the Summit. We're a HubSpot advisory board member. So out of 2,500 organizations worldwide, we're one of 20 partners who are called in to consult on HubSpot, upcoming potential products, what clients are looking for, etc. And right now we are the only Canadian organization to hold the Advanced Implementation Certificate, which is, doing advanced HubSpot implementations for anything. And that's one of only 16 partners worldwide who hold that certificate. So I put this quick little summary on looking at traditional CMS versus HubSpot CMS down here, so you can have a quick overview. But if you have any questions, please type them in the Q&A. Otherwise, I'm going to have Antoine answer maybe a couple of common questions that we get. And the first one being, I already have my website somewhere else. What would it mean for me to transfer it to HubSpot?
Right. So HubSpot has a migration tool. It won't be available for much longer, but right now, when you buy a CMS package, you will get a free skinning of your website that includes your insight pages, your homepage, header, footer, blog, and all of that will be moved to HubSpot so that you can just input your content and start running.
Right, and we're not losing the skinning service or the transfer service. It's just that coming soon, and I don't know the exact date off the top of my head. Apologies for that, but coming soon that will be a paid service. But right now, you can still access that service for free when you get a new CMS hub. But Antoine, otherwise, the transfer, is it typically fairly simple, copy and paste content?
Yeah, I mean, once your website is skinned, it's pretty simple to copy paste content. Your blogs can be exported in XML format and then just uploaded to HubSpot. And then just you click publish and it's done. But yeah, once that's not available anymore, then it's just a question of, are you starting, like we said, from a paid theme or from scratch? Is it a redesign or is it a new website or the same website or a new website? And then you have to put in your content. But yeah, it's not as terrible as moving a website from HTML to WordPress, for example.
Not as terrible, always good. Yeah, we've done a couple of website transfers and are actually right now in the process of transferring our own website. So we're doing it ourselves too. And we've had a lot of learning experiences and learned a lot of lessons. And we know sort of the best way to ensure that that transfer goes as smoothly as possible and the tools that we need to do that.
And that will be from WordPress to HubSpot.
Yes, the transfer of our own website, yes. So we're also, another question that I think a lot of people see, especially when we talk about maybe e-commerce, is customer login. That's an option in HubSpot.
Yeah. So in the CMS Enterprise, you have membership as part of the package. It basically allows you to create a membership area for your users. If you have an integration with an e-commerce platform, those can be linked together. But yeah, it makes it very simple. You basically link a form to a list and then a list to the membership, and whatever contact you have in that list is have access to the membership portal. They'll have to create a password and all that standard user stuff. But yeah, it's pretty simple to set up.
and all the passwords are secure. In fact, you as a I guess like an admin of the HubSpot site would not be able to access any of the passwords for any of the clients. That's all only stored, with them. And so we don't, you wouldn't be able to access any of that. It's a very secure membership portal. There are lots of other membership portal options. This is one that we do often recommend, especially for people with security concerns, because maybe the portal contains personal information, things like that. This is one of the best security ways to do that compared to some other portal builders.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like on most CMS, your user passwords are exposed. They may be encrypted, but you can still get to them. In the HubSpot CMS, you cannot get to your user password at all.
Excellent. And so I think another question that I can kind of go over is, a lot of people ask, what's the difference between the CMS Pro license and the CMS Enterprise license? So one of the big ones that we just mentioned is the membership portal. So those sign-on login options are available for Enterprise and not for Professional. Another thing that to go with Enterprise is multiple domains. So if you'd like to have multiple domains on your HubSpot CMS, you could do that if you have an Enterprise license, not subdomains. Subdomains, you can have as many as you want, different things like that. But if you want to have multiple actual domains for displaying web pages, then you need Enterprise to do that. You also get some advanced reporting, some advanced features for user management and teams as well. And you have access to custom objects. So you might, if you have a Marketing Hub Enterprise or Sales Hub Enterprise, you would also have access to this. But custom objects are essentially different. You can create custom ways to track the information. So right now, the defaults in HubSpot are, contacts, customers, as companies, and I think also products. So you can create custom ones. So any sort of object that you want to store information as if kind of like a database, you can have that ability, and then you can integrate the use of those objects into your website pages through the use of smart content and display options, say if you had an e-commerce site for projects. I think that's those are some of the main questions that we typically get. Just going to check the Q&A. If there are any other questions, please type them now.
Reverse proxy is also a CMS Enterprise feature.
Right, reverse proxy that we spoke about earlier is also an Enterprise. So if there's any other questions, go ahead and type them in the Q&A or in the chat, and we'll answer them. But otherwise, I just wanted to, I'll give everyone a minute or two to type. I wanted to say thanks to everyone who joined us today. Hope you were able to learn a little bit about CMS Hub and the benefits there. Like I said, if you have any questions about anything we talked about today, please feel free to reach out with the email addresses in the slides. You will get a copy of the slides coming soon. I'll go back to those quickly in case you want to write it down, but you will get a copy of the slides as well as the recording to listen to afterwards, and will be in the ability to book a meeting with any of our consultants afterward. But if you have technical questions, please reach out and we'll be happy to answer them for you. So I don't think there's any other questions coming in, and I think we are just about on time. So on behalf of Flawless, thank you all for joining us today. It's been great speaking to you about CMS, and we're looking forward to hearing from you in the future. Thanks again, and we'll see you later.